Okay, a few things I forgot. This is kind of like a part two. Um, well, there's also the stringers for the stairs, but when I do this picture frame detail, because I had explained that I don't like to see the ends of the. I'm running my deck boards this way. I don't like to see the ends of all these deck boards, so I do a picture frame, and then it ends up like this. But in order to give yourself, you need something to nail to here. I have my outer floor joist here, and then I use a 2x4 flat. I nail it in that way through the outer floor joist to support it, so it's on the flat, and then another one here on the other side of it. I nailed in this way so that into the side of the 2x4 to hold it in place, and then that gives me a situation like this, so I can fasten here, and as I said before, I drill because the nails are close to the end, and then also to nail here. Okay, so that's it. Just kind of worked out on my layout here, but if it doesn't work on layout, you still want to do that. So you want to have support on both sides of it. 2x4 on the flat gives you plenty of room for nailing. And then as far as my overhang, I like about 1.5 inches of overhang. Seems to kind of look the best. 1.25 inches, 1.5 inches. I like 1.5 inches. So I've got 1/2 inch plywood, pressure treated plywood that's gonna face this whole thing, and because I'm putting siding on it, and then I'll have a piece of 3/4 inch trim, 3/4 1x4, so basically 3/4 by 3.5 hardy will be under here. So that's 1/2 inch and 3/4 inch and 1/4, and then I want 1.5 inches. So I the front of this from this rough framing right now is out 2 3/4 inches. But then, like I said, I'll put 1/2 inch of plywood and a 3/4 inch trim board, and then so the actual overhang will be 1.5 inches. That's just for aesthetics. I just think it looks the best. And then these stair. Now I'm not going to get into how to figure and cut stair stringers, because that's like a whole. I mean, there's plenty of stuff on YouTube and on the internet, guys showing you how to figure it, how to do it. But that's like a whole nother video that's been probably covered many times by other people. So if you don't know how to do it, you can watch another video on it. I wouldn't suggest buying the ones at the big box stores, because there's nothing wrong with them. The only problem is they're designed for one exact height, or they're already pre-cut for you. So in order to get even treads, you're going to end up with ones that are smaller or bigger. By code, you can't have more than 1/4 inch of difference between your highest tread and your lowest tread. Okay, so you're supposed to be within 1/4 inch. And it's a safety hazard. I mean, probably it could be less, it could be more than that, but the code figured it at 1/4 inch. So if you're using pre-made treads, how are you going to make it work out unless you have that exact height that those treads were made for? Oh, it is an existing situation. So the best thing is to learn how to do it. It's not that complicated. I mean, you got to figure from the top of whatever your material is, and then what you're using on your treads. So I'm using the same stuff, which is 1 inch thick. And then my last tread, because I'm not adding 1 inch here, because it's concrete, I'm not adding another inch tread, as I am here and here. This one has to be 1 inch less. So it worked out for me at 5 7/8. And I'll have 1, 2, 3, 4 steps up, because I've got 23.5 inches from the top of here to the top of the concrete. Okay, so you're adding 1 inch here, you're adding 1 inch here. This is 5 7/8. You're adding 1 inch here, adding 1 inch here. This is 5 7/8. The distance from here to the underside of this, or to the top of this is 5 7/8, because you're adding. So 5 7/8. Yeah, so it needs to be the same. It's mostly your last one that gets cut, whatever the thickness of your tread is, less than the other ones, but it still has to work out. So like I said, there's videos on how to figure all that, how to use your square to make them. So I won't go into that. And then too, this concrete isn't perfectly level, so I'll end up fine trimming the bottom of this. I want the bottom of this to sit flat on the concrete. I don't want all the pressure either on the front point or on the heel, because of the grain of the wood. when you cut stair stringers, this creates, it's kind of a weak point, especially you're walking up and down these things every day, and after a year or 5 years or whatever, this could break off. So I like it to, so I'll fine trim it. If I have to take a little more off here, 1/8 inch and taper it down, or a little off the heel back here and taper it to 0 or whatever, just to get them to sit flat. So I'll go and do that. And then, okay, so here I've got a 4-foot wide stairs. I like 1.5 inches of overhang on my treads, so I like about 1.5 inches. So I've pulled these in 1.5 inches. So from the outside of this one to the outside of the one on the other side will be 45 inches, because I want to cut 48-inch treads, because this decking lumber comes in either 8-foot, 12-foot, or 16-foot lengths. I bought 12s because of this is 6 foot, so I get 2 out of a piece, so they don't have any waste. I want to cut these as 4-footers, so I'll get 3 pieces out of one 12-foot length. And so to get that 1.5 inches of overhang, I just pull these in 1.5 inches, giving me from outside of this to outside is 45. And then I'll also use 1x material pressure treated here, because I obviously don't want to see underneath my stairs. I could use these, but I actually bought 1x8 pressure treated, because I didn't know how high this would end up being. So I knew 1x8 would cover whatever. Of course, I'll have to rip it. 1x6 actually would have been okay, but I bought 1x8, and then that'll close this. And then on the top, again, I cut this width here at 9 3/4, because 2 of these are actually 5 5/8, because they're green. They'll shrink down to 5.5 eventually as they dry out over time. Anyway, so I want 1.5 inch overhang again in the front, from the front of here. So I'll have 1.5 inches, because 5 5/8 and 5 5/8 is 11 1/4. So get 1.5 inch overhang, cut this at 9 3/4. This distance here is 9 3/4. So I'll get my 1.5 inch overhang. You'll see, because I'll do a video once these stairs are finished. Right now, I just want to get the plywood on the front and get these. I need 3. I need 1 in the middle because of the width, for added support. I'll get these installed, and I'll just put some temporary treads on. Or maybe I'll put the finished treads and cover them with some scrap plywood, because they're going to get walked on for the next few months by dirty feet. I don't want to get damaged. I also put a piece of OSB here, like a sacrificial piece for people so the decking doesn't get ruined. Anyway, yeah. So, but I want to get them cut now, and then I put, as you can see, I put nailers here. This is a piece of 2x6 on the flat. Here there was already studs, so I just took a piece of scrap 2x4 and put on each side, so I have plenty of width. And same with these, so that because of the sunlight, let me get over here. Yeah, so that I have meat to nail this into. I can actually nail even from behind. Now I'll put the plywood on first before I put these on. And I'll be doing that today. So, but I needed something behind, because otherwise there'd only be this bit here. That's not enough to nail to. I want support all the way down. I want to be able to toenail in, from both sides. So I put some big backing, I guess you could call it. So there'd be backing for each of them. And then because I could have done it with 3 treads. So 1, 2, and then the third one up on top of the deck, because I had 23.5 inches. It's right there. I think code requirement is 7 3/4. I think is the maximum allowed for a tread. I'm not sure, but I don't even like to go that high. That to me is kind of high for a tread. Unless I have a space constraint and I don't have a choice. But there's no space constraint here. So I went the next down with the 4 treads, and because I have 4 treads, I have to have a railing by code. Now there's nothing inspected here, but it's always good to follow code. The codes are there for a reason. Usually safety. They're not just there to keep inspectors busy. They're there for a reason. So anyway, I'm going to have 4 treads. When you start getting over 7.5 inches tread height, step height, riser height. It's called riser technically. Basically, this is your run and this is your rise. It's a little bit high. So I'd rather have more, but now I have to put a railing because it's not about the height. Okay, if I'm more than 30 inches off the ground, I have to put a railing around. Now I'm putting a railing anyway because it looks better, even though by the time I fill all this in with soil, final grade, I'll be less than 30 inches. But getting back to this, so I got to put a railing on one side. So I need to support that railing. I can't put the 4x4, I use a 4x4 here. So I can't put that down into the ground because it's on concrete. So I've got only this bottom bit of wood plus the tread to grab to make that thing stable, right? So the way to tighten it up is to get a piece of 2x6, and I'll have to rip it down because this is only 4 7/8 high. And I'll put that here at the end across to the middle one, and then from the middle one here. So that'll lock the three together from doing this. I mean, obviously the treads will, but this makes it even stiffer because you really don't want any play because you're talking about a 3-foot high post, and you've got about 5 inches of wood to grab the bottom of it and make it as solid as possible. Of course, I could put L brackets down at the bottom and all that and drill them into the concrete, but there's no reason to. So I'll put that here, 2x6, rip down to this height. Tread will sit on top of all that, and then the facing 1x will cover it so you won't see it. But it'll be in there to add support this way, and then I'll take a 2x4 pressure treat again, and I'll run it this way all the way to the back. And what that'll do is that'll strengthen all this material because it's, you know, because with the way the grain works out when you're cutting stringers, you know, it's always a weak point. So that 2x4 it'll be nailed here from inside before I put the treads on, and it'll strengthen this entire piece here all the way across, and then it'll die in here. I'll bring another one down from here, a short piece of 2x4 to meet that one, and then that'll give me a nailing surface because I got to close this little triangle. So it'll probably be closed with a piece of hardy board, which is 1/4 inch thick, hardy out of 4x8 sheet. I'll cut a piece of triangle, or the siding guys will, and then so this one 2x4 running across, it's back 1.5 inches now, right? So I'll have to put another piece of 2x4 in front of it to flush it out here. But that corner here will give me something to nail just to close this up. We'll need to close this up because you don't want to see inside there from the side. Anyway, so that's how I'll frame that, and I'll cover that later when I actually build these stairs and finish them out. I'll probably make a video just on that and go over all that again, if I remember. Hopefully I won't build them and go, darn it, I forgot to make a video. Anyway, yeah, so that's kind of how I'll do that. I think that kind of covers everything. A few more details. Yeah, that covers it for now. Like I said, I'll get into more details on stair building, railing building, all that kind of stuff later down the road. All right.